Breathing in all the madness around you, feeling like it's the end of days. Thrown aside, now you know that you want to. They don't know better anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug.
It's funny. Obviously, I as we were just mentioning, I went back through your last couple to see if you're still doing this stuff, right? Still doing the singing intro, and like what can I find that's pairs well with the discussion that's probably going to come up of the daily grind of construction life, and all that could pop into my head were like the lyrics from Frozen. Like I've got a 5-year-old daughter at home, and it's like let it go, right? So I'm not a big music guy.
How many times have you heard it?
Oh my God, we let her watch one movie a week, and it's like every single time.
Is that the one that's just been worn out forever?
Oh yeah.
Is it? I'm not a parent, so I just been told by parents
totally.
that that's the one.
Like if it was a VHS, it would be like
it'd be ripped apart. You'd be buying a second one, and another one, and another one. But it's not. So it's streaming. Is it streaming or is it on?
It's on Disney or.
It's on everything.
Yeah.
Doug, welcome back to the show, man. We've got
great to be here.
Yeah, this is awesome that I finally got you on. I know we were trying, and you guys have been busy and growing, and I've been watching, and it's been amazing. And then you kind of came up with this idea about let's just share a bunch of stuff that you guys are doing and where you're planning with the business. Yeah. So I just want to let everybody know that Doug Taylor's here, only one. I mean, the other guys are all working away, but it's not like you're playing hooky because you're doing work here as well too. So Frontiers Design Build, www.frontiersdesignbuild.com, and it's Frontiers, what's the LA? No.
For the email?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's frontiersla@gmail.com. Yes. Okay, all right, my mistake. Yep. I want to give a shout out to DGR with the high-vis hoodie that they gave me, which is great. It's loud, but it's great. I might go, do a little air traffic controlling going on at Pearson a little bit later on, but we'll see. But I appreciate it. It's actually a nice hoodie, and I like seeing their crew on a poor day and having everybody with the high vis and everybody's there. You can see everybody, right? Sure. So we're going to talk about your growing business and where it's headed and where you guys want it to go, where it's been, and what you're doing. And these are all huge things, and these are massive questions that every contractor, every tradesperson asks several times during the course of their career. Right. So where do you want to begin with this, man?
Yeah, so when I was kind of thinking about what we should talk about, it's like looking back on the last, 6 or 7 years of Frontiers, I feel like we've put a lot of time and effort into trying to figure some of it out.
Just learning.
Learning the minutia of growing a business, right? And, not to say that I have it all figured out or it's perfect it's not by any means, and it never will be, right? But I just kind of wanted to go back through like a few of the recent hurdles, stepping stones that we've hit, kind of how we overcame them, kind of some of the tactics we used, some of the fundamentals that have helped us be successful in the last 6 or 7 years in growing our business.
I want to just give people who haven't heard the last show, because it's been probably almost a year since you guys were on the show.
Yeah, probably both.
And you had everybody there, well, most everybody there, but now the crew has grown. And I want people to understand there's a wealth of knowledge there. There's a lot of experienced tradespeople that are a part of your team, a part of this brand, right? Yep. If you want to just highlight them a little bit and see where everybody's coming from and how, because I'm very respectful of what you guys have done and what other companies are doing, where you're pooling resources together. You're finding like-minded individuals and you're putting them together. And I get a sense from the industry, everybody wants this. Like this is really key. And they're slowly understanding that we're not one-person shops. Like we cannot be a lone person building a construction brand.
Yeah, I totally agree. Where do I start? I mean, so I started the business in 2008, and I was kind of alone on the ownership end until 2014-15 when I brought on James and Adam as partners. And I think that was really a catalyst at that point to more of a company culture direction and team atmosphere, team decision making, team brainstorming, team accountability. And at that point, we really started kind of hiring like-minded individuals as opposed to bodies.
Got it.
Right. So
were you at a point in your career there was a lot of heaviness of the construction industry on you individually?
Well, totally. I mean, at that point, I was the owner-operator doing literally everything. Yeah. Right. I was on site, coordinating everything, making all the decisions. I was selling, designing, estimating, project managing, scheduling.
It's a lot, yeah.
And trying to be on site for most of the day, right? So it's the struggle that most tradespeople have when they're owner-operators, and they may have, one or two guys, or even, 5 or 6. Yeah. They get kind of stuck in that vortex of owner-operator. But yeah, I think that was in 14, 15, it was really the catalyst where we were like, okay, let's bring in people that are, a good cultural fit, and we can build a community, we can build a brotherhood at Frontiers. Start to empower them, start to kind of give them responsibility and the accountability that comes with it, and see where that takes us. We didn't really know kind of where we were going at that point, but we kind of knew that that's the vibe we wanted to have, that's the culture we wanted to have, and yeah.
Was there anything outside that you guys came across that you were trying to mirror? Like, did you look at other industries and thought we should be implementing this into our business?
Yeah. So I've been part of a really good peer group since 2012. And I think really kind of, so probably being in that peer group for that 3 or 4 years up into that point started to give me some of the business fundamentals and traction to really start to piece it together. So I think, in that peer group, some of those guys being further ahead in development than I was, gave me those examples to follow, those tidbits of information.
This was a construction peer group or business construction?
Yep, landscape green industry specific. Okay. I'm still in the group. Yep. So I've been in that group for a solid decade now, and it's been fundamental as well for some of the stuff that we've implemented.
So almost 10 years, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So the guys came in, you started partnering up with them,
yep.
And then what was the first action that you guys were starting to look at things?
So what James brought to the table was the renovation side of the business, right? As you know, so I started with landscape. He brought renovation. We really kind of turned into a full turnkey design build at that point for people. So we started, the first really good kind of cultural fits we had there were our initial carpenter staff that we hired. And all these guys that we implemented at this point, they were new. They were green. So we built all these guys up.
So right out of school or right out of...
the first couple carpenters we had were right out of school.
Wow.
Landscape guys, just kind of guys kicking around the University of Guelph, but they had kind of a passion for the landscape and really kind of shaped them and developed them into foremen.
Was that by accident or by choice that when you guys were doing call outs and you're basically scouting?
Yep.
Was that by accident that you were finding a younger group of people?
It was probably subconscious, with the intent of like, who do we feel comfortable with? What is our company culture? What are the types of people, the like-minded people that we want to be with?
Yeah.
I think people kind of gravitate to other people like themselves.
Totally.
Right? So there's probably some of that going on, because we are a relatively homogenous group of guys. We all get along really well. Not a lot of conflict. We all have, passion for the work, that type of thing. So I think we were looking for people similar to ourselves, which has its pros and cons.
Yep.
As well, right?
But you learn off each other and learn good, bad. Like that's the whole point is that you guys, it feels like you guys were looking for sounding boards.
Yep.
You were looking for people, not just employees. You weren't just looking for employees that would just come in, punch the clock, do the job and get, that was not the whole objective here when you guys were talking about, let's grow the business, let's grow the brand, right? We wanted to bring like-minded people that will contribute to the brand, right?
And the big thing there is giving them a voice too. Because, part of the vortex that I think owner-operators get stuck in is that, especially when you're a single owner, you're the decision maker, right? Yeah. You don't really have that sounding board, and you just kind of think of ideas on a whim. Some of them might be short-sighted, and you just give marching orders, right? So
exactly.
All these people are just kind of like following the colonel into battle. Whereas I think once you build that sounding board with, in my case, a couple more owners, some empowered employees, you really start to kind of hash through issues and kind of vet them a little bit more and come up with processes that work for everybody instead of just you as the owner.
But the industry in general, you get these individuals that start a business, start a brand, they're so proud of it, and they don't want, like you did in the beginning, like we all do, you do everything, you wear every hat.
Yep.
How easy was it for you to let go of that and let somebody else come in?
Super hard.
Yeah.
Super hard. By nature, I'm kind of like a micromanager, as many owner operators are, right?
Yeah.
But it's slow and you got to work on it. I'm certainly not there. There's, a lot of inside jokes at Frontiers about like, how Doug just shows up to a job site and it's chaos. He jumps in a machine and he causes chaos. I'm still having a hard time stepping back and letting guys that are now better at this stuff than I am to just do their job.
Yeah.
So
put the machine down, Doug.
Exactly.
Just put the machine down.
Yeah. It's funny, like if I put a tool belt on, they'll take a photo and put it on like a group chat.
But that's what they're supposed to do anyway, right? Because
sure.
maybe you just want to just do it just to kind of, this is what it feels like.
Well, it's fun.
Yeah. That's
so when I get stressed out, I go hop in a skid steer.
Yeah.
But I got to limit that these days.
And James, they're the same way too. It was like all three of you guys were all the same kind of mindset coming in, and they had a reluctance, I guess, to let go of the tool belt.
Yeah, James did a lot. James kind of went cold turkey, which is impressive.
Oh, wow.
James is very disciplined.
Okay.
So he's our process guy. He's developing some of our internal systems and processes, but he's disciplined. So when it came time for him to kind of just like drop the tools and let the PMs kind of jump into the frying pan, he just did it. It went really well.
I guess most guys and girls in the industry have to realize that it's not a negative to drop the tools, right? It's not a negative to let other people that you've hired or you're working with to expand the business. I guess maybe they're always looking at it as a negative, right? But it's not at all.
It's about the implementation. I mean, you got to be prepared yourself. You got to be organized. You got to be providing them with what they need. You got to be setting up them for success. You need to make sure that they have, or you have expectations and they know what your expectations are. They need the tools to be successful, right? So we've made that mistake a couple times where we've kind of brought somebody in, given them free reign to maybe develop part of the business or do something, but without enough guidelines or enough bumpers and enough support, and they just kind of floundered.
So was it the hope that they'll figure it out?
Yeah,
that kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Hey, we think we're bringing somebody in that's like us, that's can think independently, can multitask, can figure things out. They've got some experience, but still, it's got to be part of a system. It's got to be part of the Frontier system in order to work.
Okay. So then where was the shift after that you guys started noticing that if we stay on this path, Frontiers is going to just stay at an even level?
Yep.
But you guys aren't interested in that. You're interested in building something completely different, right? So where was that moment when you guys all sat down? And was it just the three partners that first sat down and said, every year we're doing the same amount of work. Every year we're growing a tiny bit every year. And if we keep on this path, this is where we're going to be 10 years from now. Do we want to be there? What was it that you guys looked at and did to make that different?
Yeah, I don't think it was one moment. It was more a continual and consistent approach of like, how can we improve a little bit? How can we improve a little bit? What can we do next? What can we do next? So tweaking the dials, as opposed to some like big lofty change. So slow and steady. And I think it was kind of right from day one, especially like when we merged in 2014, 15 and started kind of doing it together. But no, I don't recall one time where we sat down and said, this is our goal. We're constantly looking at that.
Yeah.
At least kind of like at bare minimum, kind of quarterly, we have these big discussions, try and do it monthly. But
have an open conversation and just no stupid questions, no stupid answers, no nothing like that. And you guys just throw everything at the wall and just see what happens, and then go from there.
Adam, James, and I, we try and meet monthly to kind of discuss vision, kind of big macro topics, and then kind of quarterly is when we have more of our financially focused forecasting, where we look at 3 and 5 year plan, and again discuss things like on a macro level.
Has it worked for you guys when you guys have actually implemented something and said, listen, James came up with this, Doug came up with it, like you guys all came up with an idea, you implement it, you put it into place, and all of a sudden you saw the cause and effect of it, and it doesn't matter how micro, how small, but you saw it, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
And we'll get into that with some of the stuff I put together for today. There's a number of things you need to kind of take into account when you're building that type of stuff, but it's tough.
Very tough.
Super tough.
What is it? Are we our own worst enemy? Is that what it is? It's like you still have that mindset. I'm a lone gun, right? So all of a sudden I want to handle that. But I think in construction, slowly but surely, most are trying to let go and give it to somebody else, and realizing that there is a cause and effect, that their business and brand will grow if they let go.
Yep.
That's huge, right?
And I see big differences generationally. Like I look at some of the some of the veterans in the industry, and they're very set in their ways.
Yeah.
Owner operator. I'm just going to keep costs low, and I can't afford to hire guys, or I can't afford to hire somebody in the office, or but they're not thinking past that and saying, you know, well, if I do have that person in the office, then, you know, we can sell more, we can be more organized, more efficient, more profitable, and they'll pay for themselves and more, right?
What's the ultimate goal for you guys? Like, what's that top of the mountain that you guys are looking for? Yeah. What is that? If you could share that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're focused on high performance construction. So we're getting into, we're currently working on some spec homes that are going to be passive certified. So for us, it's about building things really, really well, carving a niche in the market for that high performance, being the tip of the spear on that kind of, not necessarily luxury, but quality. So we're really kind of pushing that, trying to figure out what that means for landscape as well. Because it's easy with, you know, with home construction or retrofits, you've got, you know, your passive, you've got your net zero program. Landscape is a little bit more of the Wild West still, where there's things you can do that are green, that are eco-friendly, that are innovative. There's products out there that are starting to come to light, but still it's not as robust of as a concept as, say, like building a passive house, right?
Are the clients there? Are the clients, I guess, intellectually there? Do they understand and appreciate that course of action? Because now you guys are entering a segment of the market that is very, very small compared to the majority of the market. Are they there?
Not in volume.
Okay.
Not in any means. So with us, you know, we don't want to get big. We don't want to push volume. Again, we're focused on quality, innovation, and quality.
And you could easily do that if you wanted to. You could just job.
Yeah, well, we could become a production builder and just slap up houses, right?
Yeah, but that's not what you guys want to do.
But we'd be competing against, you know, all the, you know, the Madamies and the Reeds and all these big players in our local market, right? So we're trying to stay outside in that niche and focus on, you know, our 5-year vision right now is to be building like, you know, maybe 5 homes a year.
Nice.
Whether there's a spec or custom or a blend of.
But passive, you definitely want to focus on these little details that are going to basically be signatures to you guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're based out of the Guelph area. So Guelph is very green. Politically, it's very green. The demographic there is really kind of appreciates sustainability and green. So it's kind of the epicenter regionally for high performance and green initiatives. So it's a good spot to try this proof of concept and carve that niche.
Am I fair to say that in that area, are there a lot of younger homeowners coming into the market, or is it more of the established homeowners that are probably looking at their forever home and go, listen, we want to be here for 20 years?
Yeah, a bit of both.
Okay,
I mean, it is kind of that tertiary market where, you know, middle-aged people that, you know, do have a career are, you know, fleeing the GTA and trying to get something a little bit more affordable, while still within kind of that hour where they could potentially commute for their, you know, their current hybrid work jobs where they're only going to the office 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like everywhere, the real estate prices are going up in Guelph as well. But it is still that kind of tertiary market where I think some people still can get in. You're not paying, you know, $1.5 million for entry level. So.
It's just ludicrous. I know. Right. And then renovate.
Exactly.
And then you guys come into the picture. Yeah. All right. So why don't we, because I want to let everybody know that, I mean, people are still listening to the show primarily, but we're trying to shift the gears to everybody watching the show. So, I mean, you've been kind enough to put a presentation together and have some key details that we want to discuss. So we could probably start, and we'll be cutting back and forth. So I encourage anybody who's listening to either stop it or start watching it, because there's going to be a lot that's going to be shared. We'll describe it as best we can, but we definitely want to just focus on the visual element, right? So if you want to introduce the Frontiers group, and we'll just go from there, because I know you started with the group shot, which is great.
Yep.
And was everybody nervous about doing a photo shoot? And just,
No, we do it like once a year, so it's all good.
So you can see the aging process of everybody.
Right.
This was going to happen, man. So here's the team right here. Do you want to ramble on everybody there?
Sure. Yeah. So
if you can remember everybody's name.
Yeah, oh, of course. Yeah. Well, I'm top left there, and then we got so from top left over, we've got Luke, Brian, Graham, Adam, Jordan. In the middle there, left to right, we've got Jer, Mac, Liam, JR, Mike, and Drew. Bottom, we've got Blake, Ethan, Luke, James, Jesse, and Pat.
Like the youngest?
Which?
Is Blake the youngest?
Is Blake the youngest?
Or Jesse?
Yeah, he might be.
He might be the youngest.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No, Jesse looks younger than he is.
Oh, okay. All right.
But, yeah. So we've so a couple guys in that group have moved on, and we've added a couple as well. So there's a little bit of turnover. That was from the spring.
Got it.
But yeah, that's the core group that we've had since, like, you know, the 2015, 16 is still there. So
it's been an interesting 7-8 years for you guys, right? I mean, I've watched you guys dramatically grow, and lots of respect for that. And there's never been a question about the quality. That you can see the quality.
Yep.
That's the thing. And you guys aren't filtered quality. You know what I mean? It's not just you're showing the pretty stuff. You're showing.
Oh, it's all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's really fascinating. And I'm seeing a slow, we can call it trend, people actually showing all of it on social media instead of just showing the pretty stuff, right? Yep. So it's really fascinating. So now, okay, all right, where do you want to go from here, Doug?
Yeah, just dive right into it.
Okay, cool. Let's go right in. So we'll just go through these slides. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of want to just, and again, this is just my experience, of the last 6 or 7 years. Some of the stuff that we hit. So we kind of really ran into a plateau at 1.8 mil in revenue. At the time, we had about 18 staff. But as we mentioned earlier, I was kind of doing it all myself. I mean, at that point, there was James, Adam, and I. We were still kind of as an owner group doing all of the back end ourselves, all the project management ourselves. We really hadn't let anything go at that point. We just brought on some of these, newer carpentry guys that we had, but they were green. We were training them on the technical aspects of the job. So we sat at 1.8 for like a good couple of years there.
How long did it take you to get to that point from that 2015 starting point to 2017, 2018?
Yeah, I'd pushed it to like 1.2, 1.4 myself. And then when I brought on Adam and James, that bumped us up into that.
So it was a pretty good ramp up at that point. But then you guys sat still for a couple of years.
A couple of years, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Until we got really into empowering the guys, right? Allowing us to step back and work on the business a little bit, right? So that's really kind of what jumped us up into the 3.2 range a couple of years after that. So in 2019, 2020, so we basically doubled in size. Also in there was a couple of big projects. So we had started like our technical skills and our marketing had caught up to a point where we were getting some bigger jobs. And that really kind of helped us push up into that area. And we started to implement some office staff. So before that, I was super proud about how lean we were, that I was doing it all, right, on the back end. And, I was still in the field half the time. So we were super lean. Our overhead was incredibly low, right? Which, at that time, without the foresight of looking ahead, it's kind of short-sighted.
Yeah.
Right. It can be profitable, but it's not sustainable.
I mean, I love that the moment you guys decided to give that empowerment to the team, you saw sales started climbing.
Yeah.
Was that the pride attached to the team contributing to the frontiers?
Yeah.
That connection. And then letting you focus, the three of you guys focus on the business.
Yeah. I mean, the growth up until that first plateau was pretty incremental.
Yeah.
And then that like kind of doubling overnight was like, whoa.
Something's going on.
We just did some stuff on the back end here. We tweaked some levers and, it worked. Like it brought on its own number of issues at that size as well. Trying to figure out and have, an office administrator, what do they do? What is their role? How can they best support? What am I letting go of and giving to that person? Not keeping my eye on, necessarily maybe the finances as much as I always did before. So there was a lot of things we had to figure out, but at the same time, there was that pride in like, hey, we just basically doubled in size in a couple of years. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Right?
Were the three of you guys thinking to yourselves, I got time for extracurricular activities here? Is that no? You guys weren't thinking that?
Haven't gotten there yet.
No,
I'm
really?
starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel there.
Okay.
I mean, I mentioned I've got a 5-year-old daughter. I've got a 2-year-old son as well. So once I started having kids, like I definitely stopped the evening workings. But I mean, obviously back when I was an owner operator, I was working in the field all day and then
24/7,
9 p.m. until midnight, I was doing office stuff.
Yeah.
Right. That stopped as soon as I had kids.
Good for you.
Yeah, totally. you got to, I mean, family first.
For sure.
I forget that some days, but
don't worry. The family's there to remind you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then going into the whole world chaos, you guys hit plateau number 3. And you saw the jump, of course, right? So the whole construction industry saw a jump.
Totally.
Did you guys contribute to the whole world chaos as part of the jump, or was that a contributing part of a factor? Or,
yeah, COVID was insane.
Yeah.
I think it was good timing though for us because it was kind of in alignment with us really kind of putting those other pieces in place to allow us to grow, and then we saw this influx of demand. Right? It was a feeding frenzy.
Yeah.
For us. I predominantly focus on the sales of our exterior work. James does the interior. So for me, it was pools. everybody needed a pool.
Yeah.
Everybody and their cousin and their neighbor and their brother, they all needed a pool. And they were like emotional about it. I had people kind of come into me and be like, I'm at home, I'm working from home now. My kids are, I don't know what to do with them. And like, how quick can you get a pool? Like, we need something
pool
to do.
Therapist.
Exactly.
That's what it became.
So we went from doing, on average, like a couple pools a year to doing 8 pools a year.
Wow.
Which, helped again, bump our revenue up. And it was a good solid, meat and potatoes in our pipeline.
How far ahead are you guys still booking pools right now?
Yeah, we're like mid next season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is slowing down, if we want to go on that tangent. But, the demand is still there. The need and the want for projects. The homeowners still want stuff done, but people are nervous.
They're nervous right now. We can talk about it a little bit later on, but I could see that nervousness.
Yeah.
Right. And rightfully so, too.
Yep.
I mean, it like you said, it was a feeding frenzy for the construction industry, but it was also a feeding frenzy for anybody who had saved up money from traveling, saved up money from line of credits or whatever. And now that the industry is just, or I guess the political industry is changing, interest rates are changing, everything's changing. So now people get nervous as a result and question and push off. And we know that that's actually happening for the uncertainty.
There's a wait and see vibe going on.
Yeah.
Sure. Like we're seeing projects, where people are like, pulling an element out of it instead of doing the whole thing or saying, we'll do phase 1. Let's break this in half.
I think that's going across the board for everybody. I think everybody that was happily booked, they're noticing we're having another conversation. Yeah. And rightfully so. Every client should be having that conversation. Yeah.
What my hope is, it's clear that the demand is still there. There's a pent up demand still for work. So it's out there. I'm hoping that, come the spring and interest rates kind of settle, that it's like, the sky's not falling and, spring, the sun's in the air, and things kind of keep chugging along.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll see, right?
That's all we can do right now.
Yep.
So Plateau 3, you went up to 6.5 mil.
Yep.
Staff grew a bit, but that was more office staff or more construction staff?
Yeah, I'd say predominantly office staff, because what really kind of took us, and we basically doubled in size there again, and this is where we're at right now. So taking on a little bit more behind the scenes staff allowed us to push projects through pre-construction, so design, budget planning, permitting. So we were pushing more through the pipeline and relying more on trade partners. So we didn't really grow our production staff immensely, but we grew our ability to project manage. So to be that turnkey design build provider, pushing people through the initial process before you put the shovel in the ground and then managing the shovel once it's in the ground.
So I'm trying to figure out if the construction staff didn't really grow as much as the office staff in that period of time and sales doubled, were the days longer, or was there just more work and you had longer weeks? Did you shift gears and more hours because you're developing more projects now, right?
So it was a shift. So because our project size continues to increase, we're relying more on trade partners. So our foundation contractors, our electricians, our plumbers, our pool guys, our you name it. So as the project gets bigger, we can self-perform a smaller segment of it, and we're relying on. Sometimes we've got 15 different trade partners on a project.
But that made Frontiers more efficient too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And in this time, people have grown from being new and green to foreman to project managers, right? So we've got 3 really skilled project managers in-house right now that now know how to do it, know how to do it the Frontiers way, know our trade partners well. So we can kind of, do that pre-con, keep it really detailed, give them everything they could possibly need to the best of our ability, hand it to them, and they can run with it.
Are you guys, the partners, surprised that they're getting this like so quickly into the game? Because it feels like they're getting it quickly in the game. But I think that's a compliment to you guys in the Frontiers mindset. Yeah. You've kind of shown them that this can happen this fast, right?
Yeah, and I think it's keeping them part of the conversation when we're working on the business.
Okay.
We've got weekly meetings where we chat about stuff. We've got quarterly company meetings where we meet for a full day and go through company financials and best practices and parking lot issues and that type of thing. So it's not waiting for them to grow on their own and just kind of bite off more and more themselves. It's allowing them to, like, as we try and dial the levers of the business, have them part of that and learning, in that accelerated time frame as well.
Yeah, it's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any more plateaus? No, that's where we're at right now.
No, that's where we're at right now. And yeah, like I said, I mean, the pre-con staff. So it's basically kind of, we've set it up so that we've hired 2 design staff in the last year. Well, about a year and a half for one, and about 8 or 10 months for the other. So James and I and the 2 design staff, the 4 of us are what we call our pre-con team. And a lot of our day-to-day is pushing these projects through pre-con. So we're really able to kind of get those jobs through the sales funnel that way, and then hand them off to the PM role. And that PM role is, again, something that's new, and we're really trying to support them in that. And then along with that, comes constant training, onboarding, recruiting.
For sure, everything.
And yeah.
And then you're still recruiting. You're still looking for new
Always
staff.
Recruiting.
Always, right?
Always.
How is the pool out there? Is it pretty good in your area, or is it like we all have the same problem?
Hit and miss. It seems as though a lot of the traction we get is, referral. Somebody knows somebody. We've had some luck with people approaching us on Instagram saying, hey, we really love your presence. Seems like you guys have good culture. Can we chat? Can we sit down?
And they show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
It's
I think
a joke, I know, but it's sad, but it's true. Yeah. Okay.
I think gone are the days of, putting a job posting up and getting applicants and then weeding through those.
Yeah.
I think you have to be a little bit more grassroots about it to find the people that
Door
are
knocking, man. Door knocking, digital door knocking.
Yep.
It'll get you in front of the right person to speak to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another super tough realm to manage recruiting, because the people are just not out there.
Yeah.
Right. There's so much more demand. Like, everybody's hiring. So, as somebody that would be, say, looking for a new job, pick where you want to go.
Exactly.
Right.
I know that. Yeah, you guys. It was you guys did a recent post where you were hiring.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like everybody is looking for.
Yep.
Even though we're going into uncertainty, everyone still is, because we're being optimistic.
Yep.
That's all we can do, right? Because we'll see what happens, or we'll be more efficient. We'll run a better, tighter ship.
Yep.
So the work will be there, and then if you're good and you want to be a part of this culture,
Yep.
open arms.
Yep.
Which is really important. Okay. And then from there, now I guess the next plateau would be what you guys are planning, where you want to take the business now.
Yeah. So, basically, we've got a core in our business of landscapes and whole home renos. We're going to maintain that, which is basically at the size we're at, and with our home construction. So a blend of spec home and custom home construction, that's going to take us up into the 10 to 15 million range.
I know that, was it last year or the year before? You guys were just finishing up the tiny home. Mm-hmm. You guys, any more interest in more clients coming around at you guys to do more of those projects?
Yeah. We get, we actually had one a couple days ago in Guelph. Somebody reached out for a tiny home. We're in pre-con on another one in Guelph.
Very nice.
For a tiny home.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's something that the traction for that is accelerating.
Are you guys in Guelph? I don't know about it. I know in Toronto everyone knows about Laneway. Are there the government there? Are they entertaining that? They
can have that second dwelling.
Okay. Yep. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
And then all right, that's interesting. So now you got some quotes here.
Yeah, we've kind of hit on some of this type of stuff, but what got you here won't get you there. And that's something I have to remind myself all the time.
Yeah, the whole industry needs to be reminded about that, because they just think that it works. Don't change it.
Totally.
It's not the way
I think of like myself, back in that owner operator phase. I'm a bit of a grinder. I grew up on a farm. I just know how to work, right? So I was really good at getting the company from nothing to the point where we had to get past that owner operator stage, just working hard. I struggle more with, stepping back, stepping away and working on the business, right? So you have to really kind of grow yourself. What got you here is not going to get you to that 100%. Next plateau.
Yeah.
I think when, the next one here is the juice worth the squeeze. Again, something you kind of always have to, if you're in a growth mode or trying to do something, is there's all kinds of ideas out there. But is that particular one going to be of benefit? Because you can only work on so much, right? You could have one name on 2 seats, just not 2 names in 1 seat. So this is something James and I battle quite a bit. It's something we're actually kind of tackling right now in this pre-con role. Like the intent is to, push me out into more CEO and sales management, and James to really take on that pre-con role. For a lot of years, since we merged, James and I have both been selling, designing, and estimating in tandem, right? He's focusing a little bit more on the interior. I'm on the exterior, but we're doing the same job.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to kind of split that. So there's a bit of cross training there that we're trying to work on. When everything is important, nothing is important. We're guilty of, because we meet so frequently and talk about growth and the business, we're constantly having ideas of, new systems and new processes. And we throw it on our to-do list, and it becomes enormous. And when you got too much to work on, you can't work on anything.
Can't focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to a point a couple months ago where like, okay, like these lists, they can only be 2 or 3 items long for each of us. So we had to kind of, make a backlog list and then, put some priority to-dos on each of our lists, just so that simply we could, focus a little bit.
Yeah. That whole mindset of like, make a list of 20 things you want to do this year.
That's right.
And then write them down.
Yeah.
Ignore the last 15 and focus on the first 5.
Right.
That kind of thing. Because you were just adding to the list just
Totally.
for trying to come up with ideas, right? Yeah, it totally works, man.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
Yep. What gets measured gets done. There's a number of examples of this, but I mean, if you're trying to grow and you have specific targets, I mean, if you're not measuring, say a sales target, like if you want to grow to a certain size, it's probably about this size of a business, and then breaking that down into, quarterly sales targets and monthly sales targets, and then reverse engineering to, okay, well, I've got to have this many leads, I've got to talk to this many people, I've got to do this many proposals, as opposed to just, not measuring that and winging it.
You got to look back to the past to figure out what's going to happen,
Yeah.
right? And so you guys are constantly, as part of the whole meeting process, you're reviewing what's been done.
As much as we can, yeah. I mean, it's inconsistent when we're busy, but the premise there is that a number of things, you need measurements. It's a very simple one. Timesheets, submissions. The guys get paid based on their timesheets, right? So when guys are lagging behind and forgetting to submit timesheets, it makes doing payroll chaos, right?
Difficult.
So we implemented a bit of a game, but we were basically tracking the percentage completion of timesheets for a while, because it was basically like you got a check mark if you did it that day, and if you did it like the following day or later, it was an X, right?
But that's more review that you guys technically shouldn't be doing,
right,
or need to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it got our timesheet submissions from like 60% up to like 95%. So by tracking it,
yeah,
by measuring
it makes a lot of sense. Right. I'm curious. The three of you guys, do you formally set up time to speak and to discuss things, or do you guys just say, listen, all three of us right here, right on the job site, we don't care that there's all this chaos going on?
It's recurring meetings.
Recurring meetings. That's all. You guys are just make it formal and just set it up and go, right? And that's it. Because otherwise, I guess you just create chaos if you're on the job site. Let's just do it now, because I don't want to drive out there. I don't want to do this, right? Like we're more focused. Like gas is empty, tank is empty, we're going to go get gas. So now we got to sit down and go get it. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have weekly production meetings, weekly administrative meetings, a weekly sales and design meeting, monthly, we call it a management meeting for me, James, and Adam, and then kind of quarterly forecast meetings. So
I guess a lot of the younger and the newer would be looking at that going, that just seems like so much time consumed, but it's not really, if you think about it.
Well, I mean, it's got to be productive.
Yes.
It's got to be concise. These meetings can't be, 2-3 hours. They got to be half an hour, 45 minutes, and you got to get through it. So you got to be prepared. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we're constantly changing things, and we've gotten to the point a couple times where like, man, like I don't have time to even work. Like we were in meetings all week, and then we pair it back. We smattered some meetings throughout, and we were like, okay, well, let's bundle it all in Mondays and Thursdays now to like, so that Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays we can be productive, right? So there's always this like reanalyzing, reshifting of meetings, how much time these meetings are taking. Can we consolidate, put these 2 meetings into 1 meeting? Constantly looking at it.
Because you're seeing the value of time.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah.
And then I guess the last quote.
It's less important that you decide than it is, it's less important what you decide than it is that you do decide. More is lost by indecision than by the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
So
True.
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's something that, we're trying to constantly get through to the team, when there's, the classic guys kind of standing around on a job site looking at something and burning through hours and hemming and hawing about what the approach to take. And worst case scenario is you make a mistake, but then you learn from it and you don't do it again. So long term, it's super valuable.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Where are we going on now? I'm trying to, I briefly looked at the presentation.
I can't remember what I had next.
What's the next slide there? Okay, there. So now you guys are actually in full tilt on growth, right? Now you're figuring out what is going to happen in the next for a little while, right?
Yep. And I kind of put this together to try and kind of explain the framework of how we've approached being able to grow. So for us, the first thing we did was put together a system for systems. And what I mean by that is you need some sort of, process or document where ideas can land that you can look at again and again. So for us, it was a document that we called our Monday morning agenda.
Okay.
So the first meeting we ever implemented was a Monday morning production meeting at 7 a.m. And we just had a Word doc that had, everything from the weather for the week to upcoming stat holidays, people's vacations, company events, to discussion points like, hey, does any equipment need to be moved this week? To, hey, get your timesheets done. Mm-hmm. Any number of different issues of the day, right? So it was a system so that like when somebody had a light bulb go off and, hey, that's a good idea, we could put it on there, and then we get reminded every Monday morning about it. So
you instill it.
Yep.
It just gets ingrained in the culture, right?
Because consistency is everything.
Yes.
Right. So that was kind of our first system for systems. It's kind of been built upon since then. But in there, you can tag things. You can tag deadlines and dates to, example, timesheets got to be done daily. This has to be done by this time. This is who's doing it. This is who's accountable for it. And then there's, group buy-in into that type of thing. Part of the hardest part of growth, I think, is not necessarily coming up with the ideas, but it's actually implementing it successfully.
Yeah. An idea is nothing unless you actually...
Exactly.
You know what I'm loving, Doug, is that I'm seeing all this stuff that you guys are implementing, you're building, and you're having meetings about, and there's hardly any talk about swinging a hammer.
Right.
Like, I love that. And I've always been
I'm
huge...
not the hammer guy.
No, I know, but or the tool belt or whatever, right? The skid steer. But, I mean, it's like it's not about... It's a given. You guys are building a culture, like you're building a team that already knows that part, and they will advance their skills on that part. It's the paper part of the industry that really lags, right?
Yeah.
So I see all this, and I'm looking at it and where it's growing and how you grew, and it wasn't a mention about, we got a better hammer for, just expressing it that way. But it's really about the paper, about understanding the business part.
Yeah.
That's hugely valuable.
And it's slow.
It's very, very, it's not a quick climb. No,
you can't just go from owner operator to like having 3 or 4 meetings a week and implementing systems. Like it's baby steps for sure.
Well, that's how you keep them.
That's right.
In the business, right?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. No, so I love that. I just wanted to say that. So now,
so implementation is hard, and without that system behind it, it's next to impossible, because it's like any habit you're trying to build. I mean, you're gonna do pretty well the first week while you got that motivation and that momentum, and then it's gonna fall off.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So framing a system, really kind of peeling the onion on that particular issue or intention or whatever it is, understanding it, implementing a framework around it. And then accountability is huge to keep that rolling. So, I mentioned that I've been part of a peer group for the better part of a decade. There's accountability with that. We meet quarterly in that peer group, and those guys, I've made, commitments to them. This is what I'm going to do in the next quarter. They're going to hold me to it. Business partners, again, we kind of went through that. The moment I kind of brought on James and Adam, I couldn't be that irrational dictator as an owner operator and just make up ideas and make people do them. Right. There was a sounding board. There was other voices of reason.
And they did the same for you.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people go out and get a mentor. I haven't pushed hard in my journey, but I certainly have, picked the brains of other like-minded business owners when I can.
Are they out there? Like, I know that a lot of the older, like you're your 30s, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and same with James and all three guys, right?
Yep.
And are there like the 50, the 60s, the 70-year-old tradespeople
Yep.
out there? Are they out there willing to share?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's about asking.
Yes.
And it's about being respectful and being somebody that they can respect and want to kind of take the curtain back and show you some of that secret sauce. I think you have to show like the willingness to learn, to listen, and that type of thing. But yeah, they're totally out there.
Yeah.
They're the same as you and me.
Yeah.
Like all owner operators kind of have that same drive. I mean, obviously you're going to bump into some people that are very protectionist with their, financials or information, but I haven't run into a whole lot.
I think the ones that do want to share will actually share, and they're not afraid of sharing the financials or any other details of their business because it's what's worked for them.
Yeah.
And they either handed it off to a child of theirs or a friend of theirs, and I think people in the industry want to do that.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the ones that are just shady don't want to, don't care to because they've done questionable things, right? So,
well, I think there's also the two sides of the fence where the people that are very secretive about their stuff are the people that got to that wall of owner operator and didn't push through it, and that's probably why they didn't get through it. Yeah. Right. Whereas people that have gone through that and have built a team and been successful, they understand that they needed to get information, they needed to share information, they needed to discuss things openly in order to get to that point. So when somebody else approaches them and says, how'd you do it? Do you have any tips for me? Yeah, man. What do you want to know?
It's kind of sad that the majority of the industry sees and feels that wall and stops at that wall. They don't think that their brand. I always joked in the first year of construction. I always joked about, and it's not a joke. I always said your brand could be as big as Apple. Your brand could be as big as Nike. It could be like, it's just how you want to do it. It doesn't have to stop at a certain point. You just have to figure out how to make it keep moving. Yeah. And that's what you guys are doing here, right?
Yeah, trying our best.
Yeah, no, it's good. Cool.
Yeah.
So the accountabilities and the mentor and then business coaching, which falls in the same thing kind of idea as well, right?
Yeah, we've been really successful with a business coach over the last couple of years, and again, it's all about accountability. Obviously, he brings some IP to the table, some systems, some suggestions, some past experience, but it's more about the recurring meetings with him and him holding us accountable to the work we said we were going to do on the business. So there's a number of different levers, and some of those different levers will work better or worse for different people. But yeah, I think it's the system, focusing on the implementation, and then accountability. It's all three. You need all three.
So I guess you're going to get the younger gen, and they're going to be thinking this is a lot of time, a lot of money. Yep. But like you said, it's baby steps. You don't have to implement every single detail of this. You guys have been implementing this since 2015, 2016. Yep. That's when it started to grow. So it's been a while that this has been going on. So don't, anybody who's listening, don't look at it like, tomorrow I got to get all these things, all these ducks. No, of course. That's not how it's going to work, right? You have to do it slowly. Trial and error too, right? A lot of it. Figure out what works. And you might meet a business coach. You might not be on the same path. So that might not be the right person for you. So, and then you might speak to a seasoned or retired tradesperson, and they might be grumpy and they don't want to speak to you. And that might not be the right person either. So door knocking, man, it goes right back to just, so what if you got to know once? So come on, we're in construction, man. How many no's have you gotten in your career? You keep on getting them. That's right. You just keep going past them. Yep. So it's important. You got
it's one thing at a time. You just keep building it out.
That's all it is, man. Okay, past books.
So we've got a book club at Frontiers, as corny as that is. But
it's not actually.
As part of our quarterly meetings, where it's a company-wide quarterly meeting, we ask the guys to read a book. And these are some of the top ones that we've read that have been influential in things we do at Frontiers. So The Great Game of Business is, I think if you ask a lot of business people, a lot of really successful business people, this might be one that they've read. The Great Game of Business is all about open book management and really kind of pulling that curtain back from your business and integrating your staff. Yeah. It's about, showing them the financials top to bottom so they can make decisions, so they understand the basics of the business.
You're asking the whole team to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Everybody. Actually, I love when we hire somebody, their first day is one of our quarterly meetings. That's worked out more often than not. Okay. So their first day, they show up where we're like, sitting in the wood shop, all 20 of us, and talking about all this kind of stuff, and they're mind blown.
Yeah. Intimidating.
Yeah,
but
they love it.
Yeah, that's great.
And it just shows that like it's culture first, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Atomic Habits.
Read it, love it.
Yep. Yeah. When I read that, it really kind of taught me about myself. And I struggle with breaking bad habits, implementing new habits. So it kind of gave me some of the nuances of how to change myself, right? What got you here won't get you there. Yeah, so that was helpful for me personally. I think a lot of the other guys really enjoyed that as well. Checklist manifesto, really good for systems and processes. So a lot of the processes that James is crafting these days, they're just big checklists. So, you know, when we look at our pre-con, we're going out to sites and we're asking a million different specific questions as opposed to kind of just winging it and having a casual conversation. You know, we've got punch lists for projects. So there's kind of a mindset of, you know, build a repeatable system once and continually add to it as you think of new things. But then you have that for your day-to-day and you're not going to forget stuff as often. So that was a good one operationally for us. The 5 dysfunctions of a team, a good one to really kind of provide an understanding of how people are different, what makes other people tick, and how to work with other people that are different than you. So that was one of our first hurdles too, where, you know, there's a lot of different personalities in the room and there was, you know, some unspoken stuff going on and a little bit of resentment building here and there across the board. And it was about, you know, getting really candid with our discussions and feedback with each other and understanding that, you know, this guy's different than this guy. And these are the reasons he's kind of doing these things, or these are the reasons that he approaches this way that might piss you off a little bit. But hey, understand him a little bit more and you might not be pissed off.
Yeah.
Right. Provide feedback that, you know, he's doing this and, you know, he might be able to change for the better.
I like that.
Extreme Ownership.
Jackal, yeah. It's a great book.
Did you read that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It makes you wake up.
Totally. Totally. Fun book.
It is. Hard book.
Yep.
It's just, yeah.
But all about really kind of taking accountability. I think not a lot of people understand like the concept of leading up. So instilling in the team that, hey, if you need something from somebody, you need to ask for it. So I think that was a big thing for us because as we really grew, I wasn't providing my guys on the landscape team all the things that they needed, and I was still micromanaging a little bit. I mean, I still do today, and you know, telling them that, hey, they need to tell me to get off their job site, and hey, Doug, I need more detailed plans and that type of thing.
Communication.
So leading up, leading sideways, leading down, just you know, not having excuses, just doing it right and figuring it out. No rules. So this is a book by Netflix actually about their culture.
Okay.
Some items from there were you know, smaller items but still impactful. The concept of unlimited vacation, we love that. It's a good recruitment tool. But I think when people see unlimited vacation, they're like, oh, how do they do that? Like, you know, their guys must be off for like 6 or 8 months a year. But I mean, guys want to work, right? They want their hours. They want to get paid. If they love what they do, they want to be at work. But it's about the flexibility of vacation, allowing them to, you know, schedule their own vacation. Obviously it's got to be part of a system, but allowing people to have lives too. And especially at Frontiers, as we grow from, you know, a bunch of 20-year-olds into a bunch of mid-30-year-olds, you know, guys have houses and start
family
to have kids
mindset and things start to change.
So it's respecting that work-life balance.
Do you remember who wrote that? That's not Hastings that wrote it, no, or somebody else?
I don't recall.
Okay.
But yeah, it's from Netflix.
Okay. I got it. Cool. I haven't I'll look that one up. All right.
So we kind of like every quarterly meeting, we're trying to think, you know, what's the big next thing we got to tackle, or what's kind of what's the highest on the priority list, and we try and find a book that kind of speaks to that.
And everyone's sharing passages. Everyone's bringing it to the table, saying, this is what I'm currently reading, and this is an interesting passage that I came across, and I think that it's relevant to us.
Yeah. So, I mean, that section of our quarterly meeting, it usually runs about an hour. I'll kind of run through a summary of the book, highlights, and then we'll just go around the room and what was your biggest takeaway from the book, and how does that apply to your daily life or Frontiers? How do you apply it personally or professionally? And everybody just gets to talk.
I don't know any construction company that's doing that.
Yeah, it's
other
good.
than you guys, right? Which is really a good idea.
Yep.
Wow.
It's good stuff.
All right, now we got.
Yeah, and I just, in case we kind of wanted to get into some organizational stuff, I threw in some org charts. But
No, this is great. You want to just run us down
Yeah.
through all this? Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, so this is kind of where we're at with our previous plateau. You know, you can see a lot of the crossovers there from landscape division management and homes division management. So that's James and I, and we're trying to split that as we move forward. So if you go to the next slide, this is where we're really trying to get at now, with elevating our foremen to PMs, having that 4-man pre-con team, and really kind of define roles very specifically and get people into them. Reduce some of the clutter and the overlap in roles so that we can backfill with people that we can give clear guidelines to.
Yeah.
And
Is it working?
Yeah, I mean, slow and steady.
Okay.
We're in the midst of this chaos for sure.
And this was a collective, Doug? Like you guys are all sitting down and taking from what you can, from all the meetings, from the peer groups,
Yep.
mentor, business coach, and you guys are all putting it together and creating this. This is the Frontiers mindset now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I end up putting a lot of this stuff together, and then we review it as a group. Yeah. Often, like James and Adam and I'll sit down and chat about it. All this stuff always ends up in the PowerPoint for our quarterly meetings where everybody sees, so
Yep.
they can kind of keep an eye on, oh, this is our vision, this is where we're headed. You got to do that stuff quarterly because guys will forget about it.
Oh, I love it that you're organizing it that way. So next slide here now.
Yeah, and then this is kind of future. This is kind of 5 years out, the current plan of attack, which is always evolving. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're shooting for, or our thoughts at the moment, at least.
It's going to get big. It's going to get manageable.
A little bigger, but slow
Yeah.
and steady. Like, I mean, this is 5 years from now. We're maybe going to be going from like 20 people to maybe 30 people, but still, doubling in size.
And I guess somewhere in there, are you guys also looking at each other, the three partners, and pulling back? So if I'm committed to whatever, all three of you guys are committed to an 8-hour day, when this starts to grow, your 8-hour day starts to get shorter. So now you can have your own private family time and personal time, right?
Yep.
That's part. It's not in the chart. It's not a part of the whole process. But all three of you guys are looking at that as owners of the business,
100%.
right?
Yep.
That's key, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think the more you can define roles and the more you can get people, including myself, into very specific roles that they can focus on, you get more flexibility with your work-life balance. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, somebody's got to get the job done.
Yeah,
right. So it's elevating the production staff to be killing it out there, right, on their own.
Is it, Doug? Is it stoppable? Like once you get this and you start implementing everything, and you're creating a person, another 4-person, and now you've got a system going on. Technically speaking, it could just keep on growing on its own, and you guys could just be feeding that machine a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think by default, like the more organized you get and the more structured you get, the more scalable it is. But our thoughts are, we don't want to get big. We don't want to push volume. We want to push innovation and quality. So where that takes us, I'm not 100% certain. At the moment, we like the idea of 5 houses a year. Maybe it's 5 to 10 houses a year, but we're not building 500 or 1,000 houses a year.
Yeah,
we're not going to become a production builder. That's not our passion.
But if you can grow a passionate, sustainable business where it's like you're growing maybe 5 and then next year 10,
Yep.
15, you never want to get to 100. You kind of get to a nice level.
Yep.
At that point, you've handed it off to somebody else, and
Yep.
now you're enjoying. You guys could be diving into something else
Yep.
at that point, right?
Right. But I mean, hey, if 15, 20 years from now, if the market awareness is there and the building code is there and we're doing really high performance communities, like truly,
Yeah.
maybe we're doing small communities because that would then be in alignment with our core values and our vision. I don't know. That's a long time away.
It could be there. And I was going to ask you, because I want to touch upon a little bit about the high performance and the passive. You want to give us an idea of just percentage wise, if you were to just build a comparable house that's quality, but not as high performance, what's the increase in cost for clients down there to get a better, like a fair understanding of what it's going to cost more
Yep.
to go that route?
We're trying to figure this out.
Okay.
We're ballparking it at 15%.
Okay.
Just based on some of the, the performance elements, like, additional insulation and additional manpower to do that shell, to get it tight like a submarine, right? But yeah, I mean, we're still in that minutia of the proof of concept. We're trying to figure out, we have a good idea of like how we want to do these, because there's a million ways to skin a cat. We're currently working on a couple. Obviously we're going to learn from that and figure it out. But yeah, the reality is it's a premium, right? You're getting a more robust, it's like anything. It's like buying a performance car versus a production car. It's going to be more expensive. So we've identified that because it is that, whatever it is, 15%, 20% more expensive. Hopefully it's not 20.
But at new construction, it's that number. If it's an existing building, you're trying to retro at that point, it becomes dramatically
that's
higher.
a different ballgame.
Yeah, it's different.
But in order to sell that premium price tag, there's a lot of market education that needs to go on. So we're trying to determine with our marketing, how do we educate the buyer to the values that they'll appreciate. So, the fact that they're quiet, that they're comfortable, that they're healthy, right? All these buzzwords that you see in the high performance realm these days, focusing on that as opposed to, the fact that it's 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom and 3,000 square feet. Because if you go that route, you're just up against the next well-built house.
That's all you are. Yeah, I know.
Right.
I've got a few shows coming up that we are going to talk about passive. We are going to talk about high performance, and I'm looking forward to them because that's always a conversation that I've always been interested in. In my first year of construction, being invited to Boots on the Ground through Blue Green Group and rubbing shoulders with people that are in this industry trying to figure out things, and it just I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I just feel that the corporations are getting in our way, and it's almost, I don't think that there's one single corporation out there that develops products for the entire home. And they somehow want to make all of their product line fit the entire home, and they don't want conflicting. You know what I mean? And it kind of bothers me because now you're losing sight of the objective here. So I'm almost of the mind, I'd rather use one product because it's the best one for this, and then use a different product, a different brand for because it's the best one for that, and then you're creating the perfect passive at that point, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's where we're at. We're sourcing a number of different items from all over the place in order to put it together to be a package. But I anticipate in the next 2-3 years, once we've gotten through a few of these, we're going to figure out our prototype, our model, our approach on this. And I mean, it's really James that you need to speak to on the technical
because you'll have more, right? So, but you guys are doing a lot of R&D.
Yeah,
right. You guys are out there and taking a look at things and what's going on. Yeah. You have to.
I mean, like we're doing an immense amount of like detailing and with critical junctions and drawing up our own proprietary details on, for these first couple of houses we're building that'll be reusable. But yeah, a ton of R&D, ton of trial and error. We've got suppliers coming out and doing, mock-ups with us and showing us how some of their stuff works. And
mock-ups are nice, but they're never real world.
Yep.
Like that's the thing, is that you always have to factor in. It's like building, this. Like it's custom is custom. It's nobody's done it before, so we really don't know exactly. In theory, this is how it should perform.
Right.
But we really don't know until we actually do it, and then you'll find little faults, and then you correct them.
Yep.
Right, and that's how you grow and you do it. And it's always nice to hit a certain milestone when you want to do that, because it achieves it. And I mean, with energy and everything costing more, it's beneficial to the homeowner in the long run. If they're deciding that this is going to be a home that we're going to stay here for till the kids grow up, until we kick them out or whatever.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, we're with the chaos in the real estate market the last, decade, people kind of envision living in a house for like 5 to 10 years, right? And then they're on to the next one, they're upgrading. So I think like as real estate prices increase and and houses become more expensive continually, people's mindsets have to shift to, hey, I am going to stay here for 20, 30 years, or at least that's my current intention. And that therefore justifies high performance because I'm going to get my return on it, right? So I don't think we're there yet.
No.
I think like the niche we're trying to carve right now with like low volume, high quality, it's really for 10 years from now. 10, 15 years from now. But we're just trying to, be ahead of the game and kind of grow with the market.
What's nice is that you guys will be synonymous with have a conversation with Frontiers, because they've actually tackled it and they're conscious of it. So it's worth having a conversation with them, and then possibly hiring them, maybe not now, but hiring them 3 years down the line so they get on the schedule, right?
Well, that's the thing with some of this stuff, is that like, you can't just be a builder and say somebody approaches you and says, I want to build a passive house. Like, can't just, just go do it.
It's like a blanketed statement, right?
It's a couple of years of R&D. I mean, if you want to get, Passive House certified, like as a designer or tradesperson, you got to take the courses, you got to write the tests, ton of trial and error, ton of R&D, a lot of figuring it out on the fly. So, I mean, it's like from the time you consciously say like, hey, I'm going to figure out high performance, it's a couple of years before you're, really understanding it.
Yeah. Cool. Where do you want to go from here now? I know that you guys built the business from hardscaping, right? Outdoor.
I just threw a couple photos up here of, recent projects we've been working on.
It's been a nice summer.
Yeah.
Right. It's been a nice fall.
Yep. Dry summer.
Yeah. It's a very dry summer, but it's winter's coming.
Yep.
But that doesn't stop you guys.
No, we shift focus from being heavy on landscape to heavy on renovation.
Okay.
In the winter to kind of keep things going.
That's very nice.
But yeah.
I like that there's color.
Right.
Wood and color, and I'm smiling. I mean, it's a beautiful kitchen. That worked out great. And then, everyone wants a pool, huh?
Yep.
Have you guys done a black line pool ever?
A black liner?
Yeah.
These days, a lot of pool liners we're putting in are like a medium gray, which gives you that really natural watercolor.
I like medium gray. I just never liked the blue. I don't know why. I agree. But I guess black line is just people are nervous that they can't see it, and
that's right.
It's a horror movie at that point, right?
So no, we haven't gone super dark.
Okay.
But a lot of people are going for that kind of charcoal gray type thing. It's nice and clean cut. Makes a vinyl liner pool or a fiberglass pool look a little bit more like a concrete pool, which is higher end. Which
is what you want, yeah. And then what's the stone of choice that everyone's asking for these days? Like what have you guys been
Bit of a mix. We really try and, apply a material that works for the client.
Yeah.
So whether it's a natural stone or a man-made product, it's our job to bring quality product to the table, sort through the garbage that's out there. But yeah, it's really, really kind of what style the client wants. So most often these days, it's still most of our patios are a man-made product, whether that's, a Teco block or Unilock or that type of thing.
What are you guys leaning? Unilock's grown quite a bit since the good old days there. The classic.
They're the original.
Yeah, the herringbone, whatever they call that stone there, right? That we've seen in every place that's possible, right?
Yep.
But and then that's a nice little wine cellar.
Yeah, we actually James is good friends with these people even still to this day. We we do some fun projects. A lot of pride in what we do.
No, for sure.
Right through. Yeah, these are all within the last kind of 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so different that, we do both too, right?
There aren't that many companies that do that because it's the hat shifting is quite dramatic. Right?
Yeah, well, fortunately, like with James and I, he can wear that hat and I can wear this hat. Right?
Yeah.
And I've got Adam on my side.
Do you guys ever overstep, or does he ever try to come in? No? And vice versa?
Not a lot.
Okay.
No, I really stick away from the renovations. James is the craftsman, so he'll step into landscapes when we're kind of driving at, doing something better, trying to figure out some innovation. But kind of while I'm in the back end working on the business, moving some dials.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. The three of us work really well together.
And where's Adam's focus on? I mean, if you're
so Adam's my right-hand man. So that allows me to it has allowed me the last kind of 7 years to kind of step into the back realm and work on the business. So Adam and I kind of approach the landscape as a bit of a team, and then James is doing the renovation stuff and the home stuff.
I mean, I'm always impressed with hardscape and landscaping companies because you guys always have the biggest tools in the toolbox, right? And maintenance of these biggest tools, right? So it's just, but I know Adam is mechanic, right? So you guys got an inside man at that point, right? So
I mean, he's not a true mechanic.
No, but again, he can tinker with everything, and then it's not a matter of something's down and then production's down. It's just get Adam and he'll come in here and take care of it, right?
Yeah, which is tough because I mean he doesn't always have the time to stay on top of all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's something like we're trying to work that out. Who's in charge of the yard? Who's in charge of the equipment? Who's doing that regular monthly maintenance? We can't really quite afford a full-time mechanic right now. So who's doing it internally? Adam's got a lot on his plate. So, is it worth his time, changing air filters in a stone saw? That's another tough one that we kind of waffle on a little bit.
Changing an air filter in a stone saw? Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a guy change an air filter in a stone saw. Right.
It's supposed to be done.
It's supposed to be done. That's
done.
part of maintenance.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
Huh? What else you want to share there, Doug? Where else you want to go and talk about stuff? I know we talked a lot about stuff on the business and growing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of all I prepped for today.
Okay.
But, I don't know if you have any other questions. Or?
No, I mean, I love where the business is going. I love that you guys are slowly becoming a school, so to speak.
Yep.
Because you're embracing people coming in, whether they're old or they're established and they're coming from a different business, whatever.
Yep.
And then you guys have this mindset where they come in and go, this is how the Frontiers is all about.
Yep.
And then they see the value attached to it, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. I've never really kind of labeled that as a school, but that is
I've always said that every tradesperson is a teacher.
Right.
It's just that whether you are or not, it's just like I never thought of myself that way.
Yeah.
But you start sharing certain things, and before you know it, you're teaching, you're educating.
Yep.
And I think like all the mentors, all the business coaches, everybody that's in the once you've done your tour, I guess in construction, you should leave something behind.
Yep.
You know, and give it back, and then let them figure out how to improve that nugget of knowledge that you've given them. Right.
Yep.
And I wanted to do this show with you because the thing is, I think a lot of people, first of all, much respect for you for sharing this information because you know this.
Yep.
Construction don't share.
Yep.
Like when it comes to the financial, the paper, the growth, the ideas, how can we move forward? They don't share.
Right.
The majority of the industry doesn't share.
It's too bad because I mean we all benefit when we share.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's great that you're sharing and showing all this stuff. And then the whole point was to see the younger generation going, there's a potential.
Right.
It's not like burn your bridge and drop everything and then leave and then start doing this. That's not the move to do because guess what? Again, like we said at the very beginning, there's no lone person building a construction brand. It's a team.
Yeah, you can only take it so far.
Yeah.
By yourself, for sure. And I'm really looking forward to the day when I can be a mentor first and foremost, not only to my team, but the construction industry at large. I kind of envision, when I'm, 50 or 60 and I don't really have to work too hard anymore, what am I going to do? Am I going to do a little bit of coaching or am I going to do a little bit of mentoring? Or is it just, focusing on, being that leader for Frontiers and mentoring the guys and having feedback chats. But that's really kind of compelling for me to have that kind of long-term goal to be that mentor. That's kind of my target.
And James and Adam are probably on the same path, right?
Yeah.
Same idea.
Yeah.
Are you starting to see it in the crew? Some of the guys that have been with you for probably, I guess, closer to the beginning part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Where we're really starting to see is the buy-in to, training the next level, training the next generation. Because as these guys move into, mid-level management, project management, they understand that, they have to be backfilled with quality people, right? So there is a lot of that understanding of, hey, we got to teach these guys how to do it right. We got to teach these guys how to communicate internally to the clients. We got to encourage them that, this is a career.
It's not a job.
That they don't need to, move on to something bigger and better and sit in front of a computer 9 till 5. With our core group that, you met last time we did this, they are getting it.
Are they, I'm trying to figure out, guys in your neck of the woods, are they different than guys in Toronto, I guess in a bigger city, or are they similar?
I'd have to think that they're similar.
There's got to be a common thread.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, one of our carpenters, one of our lead carpenters who's now a PM, he moved from Toronto to Guelph. And he actually our business coach referred him to us. He's just like us. He worked in Toronto his whole career in carpentry. Now he's with us, and it's kind of the same old thing. So, I mean, I don't see why there would really be any difference. But I think the big thing is defining your culture, defining who you're looking for, and going out and finding that person. Because I mean, really, they're everywhere.
It's funny. I mean, I don't know if you saw the show, but we did a show with Saskia out of Belgium, and she's a carpenter, and very similar problems that we have here. And she's, in Belgium there, and similar problems. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to expanding the shows and going further than our local area, further than Canada, and speaking to people. But I think that there will be a common thread going throughout everybody that's in the industry.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Right. But also seeing if they actually have figured out certain ways of doing things differently, which I really embrace. Right.
Yeah.
Where are you guys seeing, Is there still, you guys are all the same tools? I'm trying to remember last time what it was, what color you guys were, or was it all
Yellow.
It was all yellow. That's what
Yeah.
I thought it was. And so if you get the new kid coming in and he's not yellow, what happens? Just a beating? Is like what's
Yeah,
going
no,
on?
he gets the yellow stuff
He
thrown
just
at
gets
him.
the yellow
So,
stuff reluctantly, right?
Yeah.
But he still uses it.
Yep.
And then everyone's driving what these days?
Trucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dodge.
It's all Dodge, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. Everyone comes in, it's Dodge.
Yep.
And that's coming
We
from
like
you.
to stick to
Yeah.
kind of one thing.
Just loyal, because it goes back to branding.
Yep.
All the vehicles show up, and
Yep.
that's it. Yeah.
Branding, maintenance, and just comfortable with the setup and that type of thing. On equipment, we love Kubota. All of our skid steers and excavators are all Kubota.
Plus, they have service right here, don't they? Like, it's not that far.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's Kubota dealerships within kind of like half an hour everywhere. But we recently bought a Merlot 5030 Roto,
Okay.
big crane type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Okay.
So we've got some posts on Instagram right now, starting to get that thing used with the framing crew. That was a big investment, big game changer for us on that as we push into home construction. But yeah, I think you stay consistent with tools.
You said earlier that you guys brought on 2 new designers.
Yep.
That's for both sides, the landscape, hardscape, and also the construction side of it.
Yeah, so a year and a half ago, we brought Mike in, and he's predominantly focused on the renovations and new home construction.
Okay.
And then earlier in the year, we brought in Drew. He's predominantly working on landscape.
What are they seeing trend-wise coming from the clients? Are we still seeing the clients asking for the same things, but then slightly different? Are we still seeing being influenced by the social media and trends, or how are they working with the clients? And
Yeah, I mean, it's a big mixed bag.
Okay.
We don't do a lot of volume, so I think it's maybe harder for us to see macro trends. But yeah, I mean, we try and really get in tune with the client and figure out what works for them. Yeah, I mean, it's similar products, nothing crazy. A lot of vinyl liner pools. The interiors, I mean, a lot of our stuff. Yeah, if you look back through our photography, a lot of natural woods, a lot of that blue cabinetry on the island, a lot of light countertops, white countertops, all the really popular stuff these days. Just different variations of it.
And then the clients themselves. So I love that you said that everyone's realizing that they're going to stay put for a little bit because they can't afford to move, and they want to actually enjoy what they've owned. Are they talking to you guys and saying that, we're going to stay here much longer than that, like 10 or 20 years, or we might even just stay there put?
Yeah, I think a lot of our clients, because most of our jobs are decent size. They're putting a lot of money into this place, and this is either their forever home or somewhere they're going to be relatively long term. So yeah, we get that a lot, and whether it's somebody that's either got the cash in the pocket, they've purchased a new property, they want to make it their own, or whether it's somebody that's been in a home for 5-10 years and they've got a large amount of equity that they're going to tap into.
Yeah.
To do their backyard or remodel their main floor or what have you. That seems to kind of be the two mainstays. We're tapping into our equity, or we're wealthy enough that we're paying cash for it. Not a lot of people are borrowing money straight up.
No.
Yeah.
This would be a bad move right now to do that. But
yeah.
I was going to ask you, have you guys started to do renos for repeat customers? Like they've already purchased one house, you did some work for them, and then moved to another house, you did some work for them again?
Not a lot of that, but more so, say we've done the backyard, and then 2 years later they want to do their main floor reno.
Then you get in there.
So it's cross-selling internally. A lot of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the first few years of our renovation push was kind of tapping into my past clientele, my past landscape clientele, to give James the leads. That's how we kind of grew that. But yeah, it's a healthy amount of cross-selling.
I remember I was having a conversation with Jim Carrick one time, and he was telling me how, because he's been in the business almost 5 decades, and he was telling me how he was recently hired to do a rental project, which was the son of a client of his that he did back in the 90s. Wow. And when he said that to me, what I thought was he actually established a brand. Like he actually created such roots that he had a happy client 30 years prior, and then established a strong brand in the industry, to the point where that child from that client I only want Jim to build this house. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it wasn't like a rental. It wasn't
Yep.
a bathroom. It was like, I want Jim to build this house.
Yep.
And I think that's what a lot of yourselves and anybody that's in this industry, if you're building a brand, you should aspire to.
Totally.
Where your new clientele are being born. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they will actually, say, I want them to build my house in the future, right?
Yeah, and that's where the client experience really kind of comes in, because there's a lot of people out there that can build a good product, but it's the moment that you have like maybe a miscommunication, and it could be with, oh, I thought I was getting this and you guys are doing this, or oh, I thought it was this price and it's now this price. Little things can just annihilate that client experience.
Yeah.
Just on principle, right?
Yeah.
Because people get emotional about it. This is their home, right? So working on the client experience to the best of your ability really kind of sets you up for that future cross-selling, that future repeat business, that referral 10, 15 years from now.
It says
huge.
something, right,
Yeah.
about you and the team that you built, right?
Yeah. And you can't be perfect. You're always going to miss something. Always going to miss something.
It's just how it is. I know that we've been extremely positive on this, and I love it. But I mean, I strayed away from the segments of the show because I just want to stay focused on talking to you and what you guys are doing and how it's growing. But I do want to ask you about a particular current construction bone to pick. Is there anything negative going on right now in the industry, construction wise? I mean, outside of, we've already discussed quite a bit about interest rates and costs and supply chain and everything like that. But is there anything that's still going on right now that kind of bugging you guys?
The only one comes to mind is that like the housing industry in general. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure, supply and demand. We're not building enough houses.
Oh, Ford just
as a community, right?
Announced, right?
So, I think there's some of this happening right now, but legislation is coming down to try and fix the system a little bit. But I mean, man, the experience that I've had with cities and municipalities in trying to get them to understand context, to understand feasibility and cost, and be supportive and be a partner in these projects, whether it's like an infill or what have you. You speak to some of these people and it's like, they don't get it. They don't care.
It's short-sightedness, right?
And obviously there's exceptions. There's a lot of great people in the public sector. There's a lot of really understanding and supportive people working there. But there's also a lot of people that are just there to kind of, punch their ticket 9 to 5 and hide and have a cushy job with an OMERS pension.
I don't disagree with you. I know.
And I think it's that coupled with a really inflated system for developments, for applications, a lot of fees, that some of this just needs to be reined in a little bit. Because, for a company like ours we're trying to get into the housing game, they make it tough.
They make it very tough.
It's I don't get stressed out, and dealing with some of these guys, trying to get them to just be reasonable. It's like, man, like, why are you not helping me? Right. So, that's the bone I'm kind of currently fighting.
I know that I just read recently that our provincial government, I guess, is going to be looking at implementing next year the approval of triplexes. So you can build new triplexes on a lot.
Yep.
So to kind of contribute to the housing shortage,
That's
because
right.
we know that they want 1.2 million new homes built in the next, I don't know how many years it is, right?
Yep.
And we're already at a shortfall for the amount of homes that we
Yep.
need right now for everybody
Yep.
that's coming into Canada. Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea when you start doing that triplex and permitting and separating multi?
Yeah, and I think it's all, in general, I think it's a great idea, but it's got to be managed properly. Where that might help is, when we look at people doing these tiny homes in backyards.
Yes.
It allows, in a situation where maybe there's a house where there's already an accessory dwelling in the basement, say it's an accessory apartment for rental. Well, there's already 2 dwellings on the house, preventing them from then doing an accessory dwelling in the backyard.
Yeah.
Now, if they can do 3, maybe people that have done that basement rental and they understand the concept of return on their investment, and they have that mindset to want to do more of that, they can now do that 3rd unit in their backyard.
I guess it's the policing. I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, with any new idea, there's going to be jokers attached to it, and they might want to cut corners, and then all of a sudden there'll be faults and then negatives attached to it. And then they're going to be like, well, this is all turning into a bad idea now.
Yep.
But maybe it just needs to be policed by real tradespeople instead of people that are not in the industry. Because I know that a lot of the government people that are actually saying what's going to happen to the industry are not really from the industry. They
Right.
don't have the experience in the industry. So it's a kind of a shame, right? At
Yep.
that point. So I always said, listen, if you want to know more about the construction industry, how about asking the construction industry?
Yep.
Instead of just you figuring out, well, this is what I think the construction industry is thinking.
Yep.
That's the wrong way to go about it.
And yeah, so it's interesting we bring this up because actually last night I was at a Guelph District Home Builders Association dinner, and the new CEO of the Ontario Home Builders Association came to speak to us. And he was talking about this specifically about the new legislation that I think just went through yesterday, or got approval yesterday in some shape or form. It's really trying to tackle these issues in a bold way. So, I mean, obviously we'll see.
We're optimistic.
But, you know, he was speaking to points like freezing development charges, limiting municipalities' ability to say like parkland dedication fees, limiting their ability to say, oh, it's 5,000 now, tomorrow it's going to be 25,000.
Yeah.
You know, things like removing barriers for infrastructure and servicing, because there's builders out there that have lots that are ready to go, but there's no sanitary, there's no water, they can't do anything.
So it just sits.
Conservation authorities, you know, this is a super contentious issue right now, bringing conservation authorities back to just managing floodplains, taking authority away and just giving them commenting power again.
Personally, they have too much power.
I mean, I like the idea of protecting our natural heritage,
of course,
but
100%.
it's got to be done in a way that is still feasible and supports progress and supports development.
Yeah.
Proper development.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll just, I guess time will just tell, right?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I mean, they're trying to implement this for next year.
Yeah.
So next year is going to be an interesting year for everybody. Like there's a lot of uncertainty. I guess the last 2 years, there was a lot of work, which is great. But next year is a big question mark.
Yeah.
So we really don't know. And it's good that our government is speaking about doing things, but government is notorious for not doing things.
Right.
So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can hope for the best.
That's all.
But I mean, naturally, as this legislation evolves, it's going to take a while for it to filter down into municipal bylaws, because, you know, changing municipal bylaws takes time.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's the long game, and hopefully we're pointed in the right direction. But and hopefully it kind of coincides with you know, the economy kind of righting itself, and then we're off to the races.
Hopefully. Doug, thank you so much. I want to do the 12 questions with you again.
Sure.
I want everybody to remind them, Frontiers Design Build, www.frontiersdesign.build.com, and it's frontiersla@gmail.com to reach out to them. And also on Instagram, it's Frontiers_design.
Yeah, Frontiers_design build.
Design Build, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. So here's
pleasure.
the 12 questions again. What is your favorite construction word?
Construction word. Shoot, I didn't prepare for this. Oh, man, you're putting me on the spot.
I don't remember what you were saying last time, because we went through the whole team last time, right?
We did.
Yeah.
Favorite construction word. Man, it's just got to be like, get it done. Get it done.
Least favorite construction word.
Should have had this list before.
I sent it to you.
Yeah. Least favorite.
Take your time. Don't worry.
I mean, it's not really a good answer, but I don't like complaining. I mean, if you've got a bone to pick, or if you've got an issue, like, man, just let's talk.
My mindset these days is if someone's just negative or complaining, I just ask them, is that moving us forward?
Totally.
And I'm like, if it's not moving us forward, then I'm not interested in continuing this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to stay stagnant and stay right here and just be negative and complain, I want to move forward.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I guess my answer to that is actually like not saying anything, clamming up. When you get that person that's kind of staring at you, you know they're frustrated and not saying anything.
Yeah.
Grinds my gears.
What turns you on in construction?
Equipment. I love you know, when I want to you know, just get out of the office and you know, go be a pain on job sites. It's just, you know, jumping in that excavator and skid steer puts a smile on my face.
You need a special horn, so when your Dodge shows up on the job site, you could just hit the horn and they're like, "Oh, Doug's here."
Yeah,
that means he wants to get into this.
Right.
Then they know how to react to you.
Let's appease him for an hour and then tell him to go away.
And then get out of here.
Yeah.
Somebody call him. Somebody page him.
Right.
What is your what turns you off in construction?
Man, sloppy work.
Yeah.
I was looking at a job site today where we're going to do somebody's front yard, and next door just got done, and it was just
bad,
shameful.
Yeah,
shameful, just depressing, man.
It was just quick and
dirty, and clearly a lack of understanding of the basic fundamentals of construction, and just, I mean, somebody paid for it. So I feel so bad for people that, pay for work that's just clearly going to fall apart in a week. You don't see it too often, but it's like, man, when you see it, it's heartbreaking.
What's your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? A good fuck.
That's it.
F-A-C-K.
Yeah.
Fuck.
The construction version.
Right.
What's your favorite vehicle in the entire world?
It's got to be my Ram.
Yep. Which one is it that you guys, what do you have?
I drive a 3500.
Nobody's interested in a TRX? Or they would love a TRX?
I'm actually, the Ford Lightning has kind of piqued my interest.
Has it?
I haven't gone down that rabbit hole.
Reach out to Andrew Lusso from Lusso Design. He just recently acquired one, so he has it. He'll tell you all about it.
Cool.
He says he loves it.
It's piqued my curiosity.
So
I hear it's quite a while to get them.
I'm sure there's a little
like all vehicles.
Anything, right? What is your least favorite vehicle?
Least favorite vehicle? Something with rust on it. Yeah.
Anything with rust on it. Huh? Yep. What construction sound or noise do you love?
This was probably my answer last time, but my Cummins diesel engine. It's just got that purr.
When it's purring correctly, right?
Yeah. It's like when you're driving out the driveway and it's just got that like idle purr.
Yeah. What construction sound or noise do you hate?
Somebody using a tool improperly. It's like binding or screeching or that's pain.
They'll need a tool meeting at that point.
Yep.
Just a little refresher course. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt one day?
Man, that's a good one. There's a lot of related professions that I could be interested in, whether that's design, architecture, that type of thing. I mentioned, coaching or mentorship previously. I think at the moment that's kind of what's got me peaked. Yeah. Being some sort of, consultant coach type thing, but that's a long ways away. It's 20, 30 years from now. So.
You never know. Could be sooner. You never know. What profession would you not like to do?
Not like to do. Man, public sector. That seems terrible.
These days.
My personality, I couldn't do it.
No.
I just wouldn't be able to.
You'd be too truthful and too honest and too.
I'd be bad at the job. Yeah. I'd be really bad at the job.
Because you'd be trying to do the job.
Right.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at those pearly gates?
Yeah, I kind of like this question kind of makes me think of like legacy, which I've worked on a little bit. I've tried to kind of craft my personal vision a little bit as well. And for me, it's like the balance of family life and family kind of generational growth, coupled with like professional growth. So for me, it's like the acknowledgement that like I've balanced both professional success and personal success. So something to the effect of, good job, you did it.
You did it.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask, man. That's all I can ask for. Doug, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and coming on the show and sharing so much more, man. So got to get the boys back on here again when they have some downtime. Maybe, I guess, when it's a snowstorm or something like that, everyone can just come in here. Traipse right in with us with the boots and everything. It's all fine. It's all good. Yep. Thank you, Doug. Everybody, Doug Taylor, Frontiers Design Build. Reach out to him on Instagram. You're going to learn more than enough if you just follow and pay attention to what's going on there. www.frontiersdesignbuild.com and it's frontiersla@gmail.com. And on Instagram, it's again Frontiers_Design Build.
You got it.
That's it, man. We are out of here. Thanks, Angelina.